Welcome to Masters of Self University podcast, your highest source of sacred truths and universal wisdom. Hello, beautiful souls. I'm Rachel Fiori, mystic, spiritual teacher, psychic healer, and founder of Masters of Self University. Join our journey of soul transformation as we deep dive into this latest episode. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Masters of Self University podcast. I am your host, Ellie Lee.
And I am Morley.
And thank you so much for joining us today. We have a special guest. Every episode we have a special guest, but today we are joined by MSU certified coach, Tony Yario.
What is up? Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here, Tony. Tony, so tell us, I feel like I've heard a lot of things about you. You're like this elusive character, but I've heard like such beautiful things about you. Rachel says amazing things. And we'd love to hear your journey to how you found MSU and Rachel.
Yeah, for sure. So I was going through a really challenging time. I was going through a really tough breakup at the time. And it was this sense of like, I knew it was deeper than just the breakup. And every breakup that I've went through was like just crazy, challenging, and very painful. And I always questioned, is this how all breakups are? And eventually I realized it was the mommy wound of mom dying when I was younger. And that full force coming up when I would go through a breakup. And this time I was like, okay, I'm actually going to sit in this and go into this, because all the other times I would swipe on Tinder, I would go out and just numb it and like need to go out and unconsciously find another mommy. And that was happening unconsciously. So I stumbled on Paul Chek's podcast with Rachel, and it really spoke to me of just loving your pain, because I was so used to doing breath work and just diving into the pain and feeling the pain, but not actually bringing my love to the pain. So that's how I found out. And I was like, it was just almost a sense of, should I join? Should I not join? There was this subtle like, yes. And I almost didn't, but I'm glad I did. And yeah, learned how to dive into that, the deepest wounds that I had.
Totally feel you.
Oh, yeah.
And I too found Rachel through that podcast. So I think that podcast brought a lot of us together in a very beautiful way. And sure. I too, my mum, when I was young, she left our family for another man. That created a big, deep abandonment wound within me. So I totally feel you. And I've seen exactly how it's shown up in every breakup, how much we attach and we hold on. And it can be sobering to really go in and actually start looking at yourself and looking how you're really showing up and bringing your true self to the world. Because sometimes we think we know what's going on, and then we don't realize that this wound is playing out, and this wound is what's really showing up right now. And it's not till we start to delve in and really love your pain that we start to see it. And I honor you for being here and doing that and hearing the calling and hearing the yes and taking the stride to actually heal yourself. And
learning how to love the pain. It's really funny, Tony, because I think the three of us, what we have in common is that, we've probably showed up in love, very wounded. And I just worked through a huge codependency wound, and I really went into it and I really alchemized it. And after I finished that process, I had this moment of, have I ever loved anyone, or was it just attachment? And then I answered myself and I said, it was just attachment. And then I said, I don't think I've ever experienced true romantic love. I don't think I know what that is at all. Does that resonate? Does that hit? Yeah.
I feel that. I feel that so deeply.
Yeah. So after,
go ahead. I feel like the breakup I was going through when I first started working with Rachel and Master of Self University, it was like that. It was just an attachment wound of like needing mommy. It was like there was spurts of my true love coming through from doing breath work, but I'd always get pulled back down into the wound of neediness. But once I started like that specific breakup that brought all that up, I was like literally laying on the floor, surrendering and like dying into it, of like, I'm just dying here, and just surrendering more and more and more into it, eventually cracking past that into who we are, unconditional love. I'm like, oh, this is it. This is the love that I've been searching for out there, trying to get it, trying to get mommy's love. But that was it right there. And then now being able to bring that to others without needing something is my experience of love.
Hell yeah. Yeah. And you feel like you've really connected with that unconditional love that you have within?
Oh yeah, for sure. It's like it's just like a knowing of like, this is who I am. And anytime I'm brought out of this, I'm triggered, right? As we learn. But yeah, it's just this deep sense of just bliss doesn't even get, it's like, you can't put it into words. And I'm sure you guys have experienced that, just like, oh my goodness, just like this, everything I've ever wanted from the outside world is right here.
Yes.
And we all have it within us.
It's all within. It's all within.
Yeah.
I had a moment this last week where I was journaling about some wounds to do with my parents. And as I sank deeper and deeper into what I was feeling, I was overwhelmed with this feeling of I am love. And it just kept on coming through. And it was like, well, what about, and my ego was saying, well, what about this? Shouldn't you hate this person for this? And it was coming back from, but I am love. But what about this? Shouldn't you dislike this and hate this? I am love. Listen to me. Listen to me. I am love. I'm not judging this person for doing this. And I'm not judging this person for doing this, for leaving, because from love, there is no judgment. From love, there is no forgiveness. It's just love. And we sit from that place. And when we get there, my God, everything changes and everything becomes so clear. Why were we suffering? Why were we in all this pain? Why were we looking for love outside of ourselves when it's always within?
Yes. And I think it's a lot of brutal pain we have to walk through to get to that place of the remembrance that we are love. And I had this moment too of like, as I was crying over this breakup and I was feeling everything that I was going through, there are these glimpses and these glimmers of when you access power, right? When you access your power, which is the love that you are. And that how I had these moments of like, how could I ever abandon myself? Like, how did I do this over and over and over again in my life, right? And now I'm at this place of like, I could never do that to me again, because the abandoning of self is me just being taken away from the love that I am. And for so long, all of my life, I've lived in this place of just complete abandonment, of needing and wanting, please fill me, fill me, fill me. And then the secret to all of it is that, baby, you fill you. The thing that you've been looking for, it's been right under your nose the whole time. And it's like, oh, okay, wow. And then you access it and it's like, there's nothing else that can compare to it.
When was the first time that you really connected to this unconditional love? Was it through a guided like coaching session with Rachel, or was it your own kind of?
So I feel like the first time that I really experienced this, really a couple times, around like 18 or 19, I was like meditating for the first time, just focusing on my breath. And I was like, oh my God, how does anybody drink or do anything? This is what we're looking for. And I had that glimpse right away. And then later on, I've had these glimpses of pure oneness. Like I was walking through Whole Foods one time and just like I was having this oneness experience where I just wanted to hug everybody. And
love it.
Yeah. And what happens was, and I feel this happens to a lot of people, it's like you have that oneness experience, but then you get dragged back down into the wounds. So what's important here, what we're doing is we're going into the shadow and loving all the shit that's blocking us from that, right? We could have a million experiences, like to have that, to always have that within you of feeling your divinity, feeling who you are beyond just this, and bringing that to our human traumas and wounds is really powerful.
You just brought a whole new definition of Whole Foods.
Yeah.
I'm gonna shop there for now forever.
Yeah.
It really did bring you back to oneness.
Yes.
Whole Foods.
Yeah, that's so funny. Synchronicities.
Yeah.
Tony, can you talk about the first moment where it really hit you? Because, working with Rachel, I think, you don't really know what to, I think I can speak for all of us, but you're walking into something, but you're not really sure what this whole MSU experience with Rachel is going to be like. And then you have that moment where things shift and you realize and you understand deeper. Do you remember the first moment that happened to you with Rachel?
Yeah, I think the first moment was like first watching the video of Love Your Pain. I'm like, oh, this is all I needed. Like this is what I needed. Just loving your pain, just that loving it. Cause I was sitting in it for hours and feeling it and feeling it and feeling it, and nothing was happening. But the moment I learned how to connect to my heart though and bring the love to that, that's when it was like, oh, and it started to, the energy just started to transmute, and I started to feel just this wholeness. So I think that was a moment of just like realizing like, oh, it's like literally you love the pain, like you love your pain. There's a lot of cute little quotes and sayings out there about love your pain, love yourself. But how do you do that?
So you were pretty advanced with this work already, because most people have to start from a place of self-awareness, triggers, getting into the pain, which is that itself can be extremely challenging. I know right now the biggest wound that I'm struggling with is a disconnection wound. So I'm struggling to actually get into this one. It's like my inner child is like guarding for protection. It's a survival mechanism, right? But you were already in this pain. You were feeling it. And I'm going to assume it was turning more into like suffering, because you were just living this pain over and over again.
Yeah, for sure. It was suffering.
Yeah,
for sure. It was suffering. Go ahead, Dave. What were you gonna say?
I said suffering sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, it does for sure. It does. Yeah. Just and it was unbearable. It was like literally to the point where it was unbearable. Of like I'm actually thought I was doing the work. Like I felt like I wasn't running from it this time. I was like, yo, I'm gonna like literally sit in this and feel it and not run. And it was overwhelming.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. And it was causing more suffering.
Yeah. And I realize a lot of people, like when they teach about feeling the pain, like those are the first steps, right? Feel it, be in it. But nobody's talking about how to transform and alchemize it. And I think that's why this work is so profound, because it's like, yes, if you can't see it, you can't feel it, right? Yes. But that's the first half of it. Then the second half is, how do we change this energy, this pain, this suffering into power, into the remembrance that we are loved, right? And I think that's the work that we're doing, that Rachel teaches us, is we are alchemists. And this is what it means to be an alchemist, is that we have the power to transform this into an energy that is going to take us to the next level. And that's what's missing, I think, in the world. And that's why people stay in this suffering and they don't know where else to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now, Tony, now that you're in this place, where you're elevated and you've grown so much, I know that that's a lot of things you also talk about on social media, right? Can you talk a little bit about how this whole work has kind of shifted what you want to do?
Yeah, for sure. I always knew that I wanted to support people, even coming into the program before. But I always felt like, I don't know if I'm ready to support someone yet. I feel like I went into a lot of stuff, but I still had a lot of deep stuff coming up. But as I went there, really fucking went there into the really deep pain, and went into that, loved it, and really felt it in my body, in my experience of that wound transmuting in my how I show up in my relationships much different. I now feel ready to actually support another in that process, no matter what they're going through, no matter how much pain is coming up. I'm very confident that I could just be there for them and guide them back into themselves and guide them back home.
Yes.
Wow.
Well, you heard it, folks. He's ready.
Yeah. Really,
Let's
really
go.
powerful. Yeah.
I believe you. I feel it. I've
Yeah.
obviously gone through this program as well, so I feel like I'm in the exact same position. And our ability, our power as coaches, it directly comes from our own ability to go into our own pain. I've been talking about this a lot within our community, how we, as the coaches, we have to be the ones who step up and go in first. And once we're able to go in there, like you said, and really experience and love and transmute our pain, as coaches, we then have the power to bring that presence energetically to whoever we've got that we're working with. We can show them the way energetically on a subconscious level. Like we might be sat in a coaching call. For anyone who's listening to this, like it might sound a bit bizarre, but the confidence that we have of knowing that we've already seen the darkness and came out the other side with light shifts the energy that you share between client and his coach. And we're then able to show you power. We're then able to take you into that and show you it's okay. It's safe. This is okay for you to feel. You're allowed to feel this. And I'm going to teach you how to bring your love to this so you can rise. And that's the work that we do. So I can feel that you're ready. I love it. I love to hear it. You know, we've got an army of warriors lining up for battle right now at MSU. And you're going to be right on the front line. And it's beautiful to see.
You know, we can only show up for, you know, our clients and who we work with, depending on how much we're doing ourselves. You know, I can't show up powerfully for someone who's going through codependency if I didn't go and tornado into that wound and love it with my pain. And then all of a sudden you can hold all that power for them. And that's why this work is so crucial for us as individuals as we go out to help the collective. And so I see it in Danny. I feel it in you, Tony. And you know, this is just the beginning of this insane, beautiful journey. Like our soul really came here to do this. And when Rachel talks about warriors work, I mean, I used to go around and be like, yeah, I'm a warrior. And then it wasn't until I really went into the darkness and I was like, I'm going to light this baby up because I no longer want to be who I was before. That's when the shift happens. That's when the tides change. And then it's like, forget who you were an hour ago. That's gone, baby. And now we really playing ball.
Have you had any other big transformational wounds that you've been able to process through and work through from your experiences at MSU? Or was it mainly just this big abandonment wound?
I feel like it was just this big abandonment wound, the biggest one. It was fucking up everything. Like everything. That was just like...
Sorry, Tony, can you share a little bit about how you were showing up in relationship? And then now that you alchemized it, like how you show up now?
Yeah, so needing someone to take care of me, needing someone to wash my clothes, needing someone to wash the dishes, needing someone to tell me how cool I am or how good I am. Literally just needing mommy, basically.
Wow.
And now... I show up in a way that's just love. Like I don't need anything from you. And I'm just here to grow, literally just to grow. And to be that love and that presence for somebody else. And like them feeling like, oh, he really doesn't need anything. He has what he's looking for already. And then growing from there is very powerful. So I learned how to, what a relationship actually is. I really thought that a relationship was mommy taking care of me. I really thought that's what it was.
Wow.
And now I realize it's like, oh, we're growing together, right? If we get triggered, fucking awesome. We could go in and we could start to heal that and growing that way instead of needing somebody to take care of me, which is a wound.
Yeah.
And so the breakup that kind of accelerated or kind of put you on this path of like that deep, what happened in that when the rug was pulled under you and you were broken, what was that whole breakup like?
Yeah. It was just, we were going two different directions, and we knew that. And I was like trying to hold on to it because like I knew the pain was going to be so intense. So it was like a slow, steady kind of thing, not just like a one time like it's over. It's kind of like slow and steady. And then realizing that she met someone else too kind of triggered more in me. And I was like really dying at that point. Like, okay, now there's all this imagery in my head of like, oh, she's with somebody else now, and am I going to find somebody else? And just loving all of that, like loving the thoughts too. We've been taught a lot to just the thoughts are going, we're awareness and we're watching the thoughts. Yeah, beautiful, but like let's bring some love to those and see them transmute. So learning that as well was powerful. But yeah, it was very painful, but very grateful for the experience and grateful for her and fucking love her so much for that of us separating, that allowed me to awaken to the next level.
Yeah, we see everything as a gift.
Yes.
Once we get to the other side of the healing, as we're going through it, obviously it's extremely painful, but to be able to sit in gratitude and compassion for the very thing that caused you so much pain really shows where we're at as humans, where our level of development is. And clearly the fact that you can sit here and say, love her for it, it really hurt, but love her for it shows the work that you've done and where you've got to. So fuck yeah, dude. And what's changed now then? How are you showing up to your relationships differently?
And so Tony, go ahead. And Tony, also, are you dating? Like, do you feel comfortable dating, like, and putting yourself out there and doing all that stuff now that you're at this place?
Yeah. So I'm just going through a breakup again right now, actually, which is funny. We're talking about this, but so we dated for about 3 months and it was beautiful. It was like, we were on a similar frequency of love, of we don't need each other, we're here to grow. And like doing that kind of work together of, we're triggered, let's go into that. And it was really beautiful. And it showed me and taught me that's what a relationship is. Not needing somebody at all, but to absolutely be there as support and love and loving each other through that process. That ended because we have different schedules, busyness on the weekends. She lives in Wisconsin. It's funny, Danny lives in Wisconsin, so it's like it's a drive. But during the breakup, it's like just all love. It's like I completely understand, right? And we're just crying in love of like we really appreciated that experience together. And afterwards, like the next week, again, I felt like, this is going to be fucking intense. And again, another death process, another dying into it, another nurturing myself through that, loving that, and literally not needing any coping mechanisms this time. Like being able to really sit in that and feeling good. Like it's like I understand and my heart knows like this is what was supposed to happen, to show you and to learn from what a healthy relationship is, even if it didn't last forever, what a healthy relationship is. But then also the universe saying, hey, if you have any more mommy wounds left, here's the time for it to come up again to love and heal. So it's been beautiful.
Oh yeah, the universe will bring in all those lessons whenever you think, I've done it all, I'm ready, and then boom, it smacks you on the head, and you're like, okay, there's more in there. I'll go back in. I'll keep the healing going.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. And I also think there's so much beauty in the death and rebirth. I think so many people don't want to die, so they'll do anything never to die. But it's like, this work teaches you the death of the old self and the rebirth of the real self is just the most beautiful thing in the entire world. Like for me, the month of May was dying, just dying. I was on my deathbed, like couldn't move. The pain was so intense. It was so real, but also understanding that it was an invitation. it was the big invitation into me, right? And then honoring and being in so much gratitude for this experience, because the old me would have just projected and blamed this man for like causing all this pain and like, how dare you, and all this stuff. And then the real me is like, oh my God, I have so much love for him as I'm loving myself through this, you know? And I think that as you know, we are learning the 20 universal ways of oneness. The first one, I am the way of responsibility, of really taking responsibility. How did I show up? How did I abandon myself in this situation? He did nothing. He just came here to show all of these things within me. And that is truly what love is, the love of self. And then to grow out of it, be rebirth, and being like, and just being in this space, Tony, of like you having your heart open to like love again. There's this part of me I'm afraid, I think. And that's something that I'm working through, of like, what happens if I open up again? You know, what happens? But it's like, Ellie, what happens happens, and there are so many gifts and gold gems within that. But seeing how, you know, even as you're working through this, and even as you're mourning this breakup, it's still, you're coming back to this shows, I think, the resilience of who we really are, and what we can really, really do in this life.
For sure.
And now clearly you've got the skills that when pain's going to come.
Yes.
We're human, but now you've learned the skills to not be codependent on another to be able to get through this pain. Now you don't have to lie on the kitchen floor or wherever it is that you were feeling this pain and feeling like you were going to die. You can sit up, drop in and love yourself, and use this pain to bring you closer back to who you really are. And it's so beautiful. Now, you mentioned earlier a little bit about numbing. And then you spoke about like coping mechanisms. I'd love to hear what kind of numbing you were talking about, like things that you used to do in the past that maybe you're not doing anymore, and what coping mechanisms you used to use, because we all have a lot of them.
For sure. A big one for me, like on weekends, was just drinking a lot. Like not just like a little bit, just like slamming it down to just numb myself and just kind of get rid of the stress of just being here alive. Another one was just chasing women around. Like literally, like that was like, yes, I was like rationalizing in my head of like, I'm just trying to make friends. But really, I was like really trying to like get rid of this pain, and just like going out and just talking to a bunch of people, or just swiping on Tinder was a huge coping mechanism. Nothing wrong with Tinder, but like using it as like, I need to keep swiping, because if I don't keep swiping, I'm going to sit here by myself and I can't handle that. So those are the big ones. I kind of used music for a while as a coping mechanism of like writing lyrics and putting just kind of like these sad songs together, and nothing actually healing. And it was almost like brainwashing me to be sad to a certain extent, which was very dangerous. And on top of that, I was marketing and getting good feedback on it. Like, oh, this is awesome, man. Perfect. I love this. And I'm like, no, like I became the sad artist, you know? So yeah. So
getting
those are some
lost in the suffering. Yeah.
Yeah.
You get lost in that. It's real. And Tinder's an interesting thing, you know. It's something that I've used in the past, and I can look back now, and it was coming from the wrong energy. It was coming from, I need somebody, so let me find somebody because I needed them. And so, I mean, I've not been on it in a couple of years, but it would be interesting to just energetically feel into how I'm showing up to an app like that now. I'm still working on codependence, so I know that would be a terrible idea. But just as like now I'm more aware of these subtle energies and just how I'm showing up. I know that it would be a different experience, and it would probably, if I opened it up, it would put me off immediately, because I would get triggered. I would see something deeper in myself that I'd want to heal. But there's nothing wrong with dating apps. You know, I want everyone listening to say we're not knocking them. It's just how we're using them and who's showing up to use them. Is it a wounded version of myself? Am I using the dating app to, you know, get project a wound or grab something that I need outside of myself, or am I using it to generally connect? That's for you to decide. Only you can answer that question.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You know, Tony, I'd like for you to talk a little bit about codependency too, because I think a lot of people are very much in denial of what it means to be codependent, and if they are codependent, you know. And codependency it's sly, you know. It'll go in there, and you don't even know that you're depending on the other person. And like a problem that I was really working through is I get lost in fantasy a lot. So I'll ignore the reality of the situation and I'll just get caught up in whatever my mind is like creating, right? And then it isn't until like reality smacks me in the face where I was like, oh, that wasn't real. Like I just made that up in my mind, and I created that because I wanted that more than the reality, because the reality would be too hurtful for me, you know? And the reality was that I wanted to depend on somebody. I wanted to feel loved. I wanted to feel like somebody out there cared about me. Like they cared if I came home. They cared where I was last night. All of these things, right? And so I find that my codependency came out in all these different ways that I wasn't even aware of. And it wasn't until I went in there where I was like, girl, you did not show up in power. You did not show up independent. You came needing. And that sabotages all relationships, you know? So how did codependency show up in your life before you started the work?
Yeah. So literally just needing to feel the love outside of myself. Very basic. Just like really, really, really going back and forth in the process too. Like actually going out again. Like I had the experience of, oh, this is all I need. It's like, oh my God. And then going out looking for it again. And then being disappointed. I'm like, oh, I didn't find it again. And then coming back. And it was like a back and forth process for a while of like, we really can't, everybody listening, we cannot find it out there. Trust me, I've tried over and over and over and over and fucking over again. And I didn't find it out there. It really is within us, and it really is who we are. And I know there's many concepts about this of I love myself, love and light, all these things. But the experience of it, of really feeling that love within your heart when you open your heart, and even deeper throughout your whole body of who you truly are, is it's beyond what we can understand with the mind. And once you experience that, all you want to do is give now. You no longer can get the love from your partner. You can't get it from them. You really can't. And that's when a relationship becomes about growth. Like two people actually embodying the love that they are. And like really feel that and imagine that. Two people that are doing the work and are starting to embody the love that they truly are. They don't want anything from each other because they can't get anything from each other because there's nothing to get. And once they're embodied in that, and they're doing the work, and like all like little triggers coming up, like, yeah, there it is. And then they go in to heal it by themselves and come back and discuss it. That's very powerful.
Yeah. It changes the complete game. Because if you're not wanting anything, that was beautifully described. If you're not wanting anything from anyone, then how else are you going to show up then with love?
Yeah, that's all you can do.
What an amazing place to be in. Like, oh, I'm with my partner just because they love me, not because they want anything from me. Yeah, it's wicked.
Yeah, because eating is not love.
No,
it's not.
Wanting, not love.
Not love.
Giving's love.
Giving is love. Giving is love.
Yeah.
But you know, we live in a society where love is so warped. You know, it wasn't until I started doing this work where I started to like kind of understand love, and now I'm at this place where like love has a total different meaning to me. But man, was I searching in every hole? Every hole for love? It's so true, Tony. Like, you cannot find what you are looking for outside of you. You cannot. You cannot. You can try, and maybe it'll last a month. You know, maybe it'll last 2 months, but it's not going to fulfill you and fill your cup in the way that you can for yourself. Tony, so, you know, I have this feeling that you're going to be helping a lot of relationships in the future. Do you feel like that's the thing that's really calling you?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah, just having experience in a more conscious, loving relationship and what that feels like, and not needing anything. And then even in intimacy, experiencing that oneness with somebody else as well. It's unbelievable how life-changing and altering that is within yourself, and to help others, to guide others into that, right? First and foremost, back into themselves, so they can show up for their partner in the most loving way, and experience first and foremost that oneness within themselves of like, oh, well, I don't need anything, right? But then like coming together, even in intimacy, like, oh, we can amplify this love into, there's no words for it.
Yeah. Taking you into multi-dimensional spaces and expansive love that can never be fully, described by the human language.
Tony, can you touch upon that a little bit? Because I think a lot of people at home probably be like, I've never experienced that. And what is that like? And like, what has your experience been with intimacy now that you come home?
Yeah, for sure. First and foremost, just connecting to your heart and syncing the breath together as well. It allows you to let go, not even let go, but be here so fully that there's no more like need and like drive for anything, if that makes sense. It's like just this energetic, like I'm an energy now, and we're being intimate, and we're both in this space of, we're both pure love and energy, and we're breathing in a way that is synchronistic, right? We're both breathing in and out at the same time, and we're very slow, looking into each other's eyes, fully present. And in this, like, I've had an experience where we're just like just laughing, looking at each other, like this intoxication of the divine, of just laughing, of this bliss. And again, it's hard to describe, but I feel the first step is one has to go within themselves first and experience who they are, the oneness, and then coming together with another person that is has connection to that as well, and is doing some kind of inner work. It's very beautiful. And does it happen every time? No. But when it really happens in that moment, it happens, and it's beautiful.
Sounds like you could really help some couples out there.
Yeah.
I have a feeling after this podcast, you can have a line of women outside your door as well. Sam, what you're talking about is something that, I mean, I've been reading about, like, Tantra a little bit in my years, but it's massively missing from the masculine that's out there. And what we're talking about is really tapping into ourselves, tapping into the feminine, and really connecting with a partner on a really, really deep level. And it's very rare these days, from my experiences, that I've found another man who's talking like this. So massive honor to you, and it makes me feel a little bit less crazy. So that's cool.
Appreciate it.
You're definitely gonna break some hearts out there, that's for sure. I can tell that. But in the best kind of way, because that's their blessing for their healing. But now that you've started, meeting new women and you're on this path, are you able to like pick up in their abandonment wounds? Is that something that you've become more sensitive to now you're kind of going around in society? Yeah,
so I feel like I've always been highly sensitive as a kid too, like just like really, I couldn't handle anybody's emotions, so I shut down and started acting like a tough guy to try to block it off and just like work out and try to get really fucking stiff. But yeah, I can feel it very very quickly, especially defensiveness. If someone's like defensive, it's very hard to be intimate if someone's defensive and closed down, right? Because of wounds of being hurt in the past or whatever. But to fully trust in that and to love all wounds that are present now and open your heart fully is a beautiful thing. But yes, I do feel what people tend to run especially the defensiveness. I could feel that very quickly.
Wow. Really interesting. Just to go back on the intimacy thing for a second, I've always felt very disconnected from men, like intimately, like in the bedroom. I always used to like be like 50% out, like I don't even know where I was, but just such a lack of connection. And I realize now it's because I was lacking that connection within myself, and so, what excites me about when you were talking about that is I can't wait to experience that, I cannot wait to experience I don't think I've ever looked into anybody's eyes, I don't think I've ever connected in this sense. And now it's like, now that I am connecting back with me, like, what can that look like? And what does that world even entail? Is like, it's very exciting to think about.
I dated one girl that could only look in my eyes for a few seconds. And all I wanted to do, lay on the pillow and stare deeply into each other's eyes and connect to our soul. And she would turn away after a few seconds. And I'd be like, what the hell? And I look back now and she was just scared to go into her pain and scared to open up to love. And I totally get it. But it takes real strength to be able to form a bond like that and open yourself up to somebody, because while you do that, you're opening yourself up to a lot of vulnerability and potential pain. So it really does take a lot for us as humans to fully open ourselves and have those experiences, which is why they only occur when we're fully open and we have the power and the strength to do that. So it's this beautiful paradox of like, you can only really get this when you open yourself. But if you do it, here's your reward, and you get to have all these magical, mystical experiences, even through the beautiful container of a relationship. It's amazing.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like staying open, even when you experience that, like maybe some people have that, like maybe like a wound of like, oh, now I got to close because maybe I'll get hurt. But staying open throughout it all, like this past relationship, I'm just staying open to it through it all. It's pure openness. It's still pure love. And there's like, if your heart's open, your heart can't break. And just like staying open,
And it just, then the pain can just flow right through. And you're going to feel it. My God, you're going to feel it, but it won't be near as bad. If you're keeping everything open, you're going to feel it all. And then you're going to switch it to love. You're going to transmute that stuff.
Rachel always says, only closed hearts break. So Tony, for anybody out there, right, who's listening to this and they're like, okay, MSU, we see you guys got something going on. What would you say for someone who's like wants to take a leap of faith, but they're having their programs block them from really going for it?
I'd say if you are really like truly fed up, like really fed up with suffering on a daily basis, and having your programs get in the way of your life and your relationships, and really feeling like an outsider. Maybe you're on your spiritual journey and you feel like a complete outsider. And that's how I felt for a long time, just like completely, what the fuck is going on here? And you want to actually not only feel the bliss that you are, but actually bring that love to all of the darkness, the pain, the wounds, the programming that we've been running for years, stuffing down since we were kids. If you're ready to go into that and love all that and really be who you are at the deepest level, this is for sure for you.
Yes. This is what we teach. This is what Rachel teaches, true transformational healing on an energetic level. We are here to transform everything. And seeing you, Tony, listen, we just met you, but I can feel how much you have grown. I can feel how open you are. And it's really beautiful to see, especially, for men. You guys are really, pioneers for men in this space. And so thank you so much for showing up for you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. To everyone at home, subscribe, share this around. We're going to be bringing you so many more beautiful episodes, and leave a comment and let us know what you guys think. And Danny, any words you want to say to everybody before we go?
Oh, just much love. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next week.
We'll catch you guys next week. Bye.